And a wonderful good morning to you.
And a wonderful good morning to you, everybody. It is April 18th, the year. It's 2023. Welcome aboard, everybody. You're listening to Crushing Iron Podcast, episode 677.
It sure is.
And
677, man.
I won't brag about the weather because that's backfired on me already in our pre-show meeting. I've got beautiful sunny weather. You've got a little bit of snow in the ground. Listen, it's spring, it's summer, it's winter. It's a little bit of everything, and that's okay because that's life. It giveth, it taketh away, and usually it's pretty good. It's what we choose to make of it. So I hope you're having a great start to the week. It's an exciting time as we have the first North American Ironman on Saturday at Ironman Texas. And speaking of spring, summer, winter, it looks like a little bit of everything down south in a traditional hot, very hot race in windy. This weekend looks spectacular. So if you're heading down to the Woodlands to participate in Ironman Texas, good luck. You might want to check your basement or your attic, wherever you stored your winter clothes. Bring out maybe some arm warmers, dust off the old grocery bag for inside the kit, because it looks like it might be just a little smidge chilly. But that's it. We don't do sponsors. We don't do ads, but we do have an agenda, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Well, I wish I could say that's working for me.
That doesn't seem to be working for you. Are you not happy and healthy?
I'm happy, but I'm not healthy.
Uh-oh.
I'm healthy. I got like a wrist tendonitis thing. It's just like every time I look up, of course, whenever this happens, you dig deep and you try and look for solutions and stuff. And one guy was saying that it is a lot of the movements we make at keyboards and stuff like that, because what happens is basically, he said it's really like in the forearm, and the tendon that goes around the wrist kind of gets stretched out. And everyone thinks it's about stretching, but his thing is more about loosening the tight muscles that are higher up in the program. But yeah, he was saying that that's a big part of it. But I think it kind of happened with my pull-ups, but who knows?
Doing some pull-ups on the rafters in the barn like Rocky, and you had a little bit of a twinge in the wrist.
You know me, but then I was talking to my buddy who I work at the same coach space with, and he, about the same age. He's like, Jesus, some of these injuries, they just never go. You can kind of get through them, but they never really go away anymore. It's not like being a kid anymore. So
we're getting older, man. That's just what.
Yeah, but I keep telling him. I said, I don't say that shit. I don't want to succumb to this idea of I'm just getting old. My goal is always to feel younger as I get older.
Yeah. Yes. So. More energized, feel fresher, be fitter, and remember, it's not how fast you go; it's how little you slow down. A little thing for you, those of you that are racing Ironman Texas, to remember on Saturday. But also, as we all get older, before we get rocking, no, we don't do. We say we don't do sponsors and ads, but I feel like in some way we sponsor you all, our listeners, and hopefully providing you as much valuable information as we can each and every podcast, whether it be a triathlon, racing, training, or the like, or just from a mental and emotional aspect on how to get through life and manage life's many obstacles and how to weave triathlon into your life and not in a forced way. Do have a couple quick announcements. One, if you're looking to do a summer triathlon camp, we have you. We're doing our first triathlon camp in Madison, Wisconsin. That starts on July 27th, and we're actually partnering with Garmin for that camp, which is pretty sweet. They're going to come out. They're going to send a rep. He's going to be there with us the entire camp. Going to have a tent out. We're going to get specific. Everyone who attends camp is going to get a pretty sweet Garmin discount if you choose to buy anything. He's going to bring devices from watches, bike computers, Garmin Varia bike radars. And like I said, it's hard to get a discount from Garmin because they don't usually do them. But everybody who comes to camp will get a discount. Go to a local bike shop, have a bike night, go Q&A about the devices and anything Garmin. And then I think they're going to spring for us a beer night as well for those of you that partake. They'll be bringing some beer and having a good time, and then they'll be with us the whole camp to answer any questions, put out some sweet A-frames each morning with the QR code to give you the route, turn-by-turn directions, and answer those. So it's a pretty sweet gig. He was actually, I haven't seen them partner up with too many camps. Some they've done a few, but excited to have them. So if you're looking for a summer camp to come out and either express your fitness, find your fitness, or even do a little bit of race recon on the course, that's for you. It'll be on the 70.3 and full course in a beautiful city and great time of year. So come out and join us. And again, if you want more info on that, you can always go to our website, c26triathlon.com, click on the camps button, scroll down. I think as of now, we have 3 or 4 spots left before we still have that. So if you're waiting, don't wait any longer. Get on that. And we look forward to seeing many of you in late July, early August.
Really? So it sounds like you're saying if you buy enough shit from Garmin, you can almost pay for the camp with your discount savings.
I mean, it's exactly how it is. I mean, hey, you don't get to try Garmin's before you buy them. Usually you got to buy them and think about returning them, and you never do because they're such awesome products. So yeah, he's going to have like a whole smorgasbord of some of their newer devices. They just came out with their sweet bike computer. They got watches, Garmin Vari, all these things, and plus downloadable courses. He even said that, if he needs to be a burrito guy, he can be a burrito guy. So he'll go and make lunch runs if needed. But all around, super excited. He seems like a really nice guy, and I'm glad to have their addition to camp to help elevate the whole experience for everyone. But yeah, looking forward to that. And I think we have a few spots left for the other camps we have in Nashville. That's in June. And then the other one is the swim camp we have next March down in the Woodlands. So if you're looking for a camp, looking to get fitter, learn a few things, also get faster, but just be around awesome people and have a good time, we got a spot for you at one of our camps. So check that out again under the camps tab on C26 Triathlon. If you have any questions about those camps, where to stay, lodging, we have hotels booked with discounts for that as well. You can reach out to Summer at c26operations@gmail.com.
Yeah, maybe I'll get some of those power pedals, man.
I will roll over in my grave if that happens.
You never know.
I put myself in the dirt, but that'd be one of those moments where I'd be like, is he doing it? Is he doing it? And I would mark it. I would take a picture and put it on my refrigerator.
Well, I mean, this is my 10th and final Ironman. I might as well give it a shot.
It's only your 9th one.
It's 10th.
Is it really number 10?
Number 10, baby.
Well, don't count your eggs before they hatch.
What do you mean? With the wrist injury, he's going to hold me up?
Especially with this wrist issue.
That's fine, an arrow. Although I might have to get, I might have to do something about my shifting because it's a little painful.
Well, I'm sure by the time we get to that, it'll be on cruise control anyway. You can just kind of set it and forget it, kind of like you do inside. Normally, we just kind of shoot the shit and come up with our topic, but you sent me an email yesterday with what I thought was a fantastic topic and includes bullet points. So I'm all ears.
I'm
ready.
All ears.
We talk. Yeah, I'm all ears and talk before. I'll kind of do it usually. I'll just sit back, relax, and kind of like when I talk about swimming, and just let you kind of take it from here.
Yeah, right. I'm going to tee you up and then let you go. So yes, a lot of times what I do is, I like to do a lot of writing, and I occasionally keep an eye out for some prompts and stuff like that. And I saw this list somewhere. I can't remember. It's actually a lot longer. I may have part 2 for my athletes on this, but I was just reading about, I was writing about kind of passions and finding your calling in life and stuff like that. And I do that a lot just because it's always good, I think, to reflect on what you're doing and instead of looking up, 10 years from now and being like, why did I just do that for 10 years? And that's not what I want to do. Not that I'm talking about this, but it's like, I thought, well, shit, this would be good because a lot of times people have their eye on a prize and they really don't get into the nuts and bolts of what's going on and find the true love for that. I mean, like the ability, I think, I get so jealous when people say, yeah, I got up this morning, I felt great, and I went out for a run at 5 a.m. like you do. And I'm like, wow, where does that come from, How do you find that? Like, for me, it's always been a slow wake up, and I always find that, but I don't find it till night, and I still think there's something to do with body types, but I don't know. But anyway, so I was checking this out, and I was writing about it, and I just thought, well, how can we turn this into finding real passion in training? And there was like some good things in there. And I think it all comes back to sort of being in the moment and appreciating what's going on and just feeling better and better as you go. And so the first one was don't chase what is the hot trend. And it's just do your passion. Like like so many people get into triathlon because it's a great question. Most of the times I feel like it's just they ultimately just want to feel better. They feel like life's kind of passing them by, and they want to feel better and get in shape and just have more energy and stuff like that. And I find it so tempting. We were talking about the temptations of social media and stuff like that, and how they can have an impact that you don't even realize. It's sort of like you see somebody post something, the next thing you know, that triggers something else, and the next thing you know, you're buying a Afghan, like you were saying. You're buying like a new storage shed, or and you couldn't even 2 minutes ago you weren't even thinking about it.
You're buying 6 air fryers.
Yeah, it's so nuts, man. But like finding your passion within the sport, I guess, is what I'm talking about. And what, like, I've been doing a lot more running lately than usual, and it's kind of weird how after you get past a certain point, you're kind of like, okay, I feel better about this, I feel stronger about this, and it's more enjoyable. So I think kind of pegging yourself into workouts that make sense and just getting to certain points, just kind of like when you get good at something, you start feeling good about it. And how do you keep that mindset? How do you keep waking up and looking at like, damn, I can't wait to go run again today, or I can't wait to get on the bike. And a lot of times I think it sort of becomes one or the other, or 2 out of the 3 or something like that. And how do you balance having passion for triathlon instead of maybe just running?
There's a direct correlation in the focus of athletes that I know I work with and that you work with, that the ones that are more focused on loving their training versus wanting to race do better. You get a lot of athletes feel like they're externally or internally motivated. I had a conversation. We were sitting on the driveway at one of Hayden's friends' house it was last Friday night, and he's a like big level trombonist. I think is what he was, trombonist, or it's very accomplished somewhere in some instrument that I'm gonna totally butcher, like symphony, and it's traveled all over. And he was talking about, because he still has to he trains for it, like he does breathing exercises and to make sure his lung capacity is there. And he was asking what I do, and he was like, how do you keep people accountable? He was like, how do as what you do is it's hard to keep, I'm hard to stay accountable just when I think I have a schedule. I'm off schedule, I'm out late at night, then I'm back at home, and then I go a few days without doing anything. He was like, how do I do that? It's like, well, the first thing is that, it's, as a coach, it's not my job or your job to motivate a person to work out. That's not our job, because we can motivate you for maybe a day, but then that's all it's going to be, right? You have to find a reason, in my opinion, in life that means something to you, to makes you want to get up, whether it's early in the morning or get out late in the afternoon, evening, to get your training in. And for a lot of people, they like to use a race, right? Their whole season is focused on what races I'm going to do, and I've got this built for the race. And what happens is we've got a year with 360 plus days in it, and you might race maybe 2, 3, 4 big time races a year max. So what about the other 360 days of the year, right? How do you find the drive? How do you find the focus? And how do you kind of, in my opinion, flip the script to where you're not solely focused on a day that's far away in the calendar, but you're focused on the day that's presented in front of you? And again, like the athletes that have the most success that I work with, day in and day out, love what they do. They genuinely love training. They have fun with it. They're not distracted. They're not changing course every 2 seconds. Like I always get such a kick out of, if you follow Gustav Iden or Christian Blumenfeld, arguably 2 of the best triathletes on the planet. If you look at Christian Blumenfeld's, like when he records anything on Strava, when he does open water swims, he never, even if he takes breaks, he never touches his watch, never does anything. He isn't worried about, it's like a lot of times his pace ends up being 3 minutes plus for an average pace. And you're like, all right, this guy's the Olympic gold medalist and Ironman world champion. He is not a 3 minute, but he doesn't care. Seems like he's always smiling and having fun when he trains. And these are the people at the highest level of sport. that do it as a job. It is their job. And that's one of the arguments you hear a lot, or comments you hear from a lot of coaches, and even from a lot of professional triathletes, is that more age group athletes treat triathlon as their job than professionals. Professionals make their livelihood. They get their checks, they get sponsorships from companies. It's their job. And they also do it 30 hours a week, every week of the year. And if you ask yourself, right, how is it sustainable for these athletes to do 30 hours a week in and week out, with so much pressure, with so many people looking to do things, with wanting to perform at the highest level? That's not sustainable if you're not having fun with it, if you're not passionate about the process of what's entailed. And if you listen to any of them talk, when they talk about training cycles or leading up to events, or they're like, I was just having a lot of fun with it. I was just really, you'll never hear them say, yeah, I just, every single day, I just dreaded it. I really had these high expectations every day. And if I didn't meet it, it was soul crushing. Age group athletes, for all of us, right, all of you that are listening, put so much pressure and so much expectation on each and every single workout that you rob yourself of the fun. And even if there is passion in it, it's gone. Like you can't be passionate and love something where you're trying to grade it and almost be resentful of it every day. It's just like being in a relationship. Like, can you imagine being in a relationship where every day you had these like really ridiculous expectations that were set out of nowhere, where the other person didn't have any idea you had them? That's a recipe for disaster. Yet most triathletes, not most, a lot of triathletes have that relationship with training. It is not a fun-filled or a fulfilled sport. It is one where we go out, we have an expectation, and then, like you said before, you get distracted, right? Because again, this goes back to, and as a coach, I come from experience both as an athlete and as a coach, coaching hundreds of athletes the last few years, last 5-10 years, is we athletes sign up for a race oftentimes when they need or want a dream, right? That's the exciting part. I want to train for Kona. I want to become a professional. I think I want to qualify for Boston. I think I want to do this. I think I want to do that. That's super easy to say, right? Anybody can want, I want to be a billionaire. Well, you know what? That's probably not going to happen. I want to be a doctor. Well, then you got to go to med school, and you get all these things you got to do. We never think past what we want, right? It's about how hard you're going to have to work to get there. And that's what separates most people from getting where they really truly want to go, or stopping short and going a different direction, right? Getting 50 things halfway done and nothing finished. And that's your goal, and that's your race. Most people get distracted along the way. Most people deviate because they lack confidence in their trajectory. They lack confidence in their ability to do training. When they get closer to race day, they find reasons to skip things or to not do things because, again, the pressure is coming. The pressure is mounting. But if you're passionate and you love what you do for other reasons outside of your race, then you will do it more. Because your options are plentiful. You're only because I'll use myself as an example. When I am in the best groove and I'm training really, really well, it's got nothing to do with the race. I'm just loving the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've been in a really, really good spot with training. I haven't missed a session. I've been really happy with all my workouts, not because I've been setting PRs or doing anything special, but because I can feel myself getting fitter. And I'm holding myself accountable. It's not about a race. It's about being fitter and being healthier and getting into shape. That's the fun part. That's the part you can be passionate about. But when you only have one thing that gets you out of bed every day, and it's that race on the calendar, and you open up, you turn on your Garmin, it's countdown clock, 187 days. All you're thinking about is the last day. Or how many days you have left, not what are you going to do today and what are you going to do within those days to get there. So your options are limited to be motivated, to stay engaged, to stay committed. And it's one of those things where you watch a lot of athletes stop short and compromise their goals by getting distracted or deviating from this because they get burnt out or they're putting too much pressure on themselves. They want this, they want that. I frankly feel like most athletes want and expect too much every day that they wake up. Every day. You expect things to go great. You expect a workout to go this. I don't know if it's like the way my mind works or how it's just I've been like wired over the course of 15 plus years in the sport. But when I go out and do sessions, I literally don't have expectations at all. My only in terms of paces or power or whatever it is, I just go out and do it, and then I'm proud that I've done it because I enjoyed it, again, because I had no expectations. So I'm not let down. I'm just proud that I was able to do it. And so that feeling, right, that emotional, positive lends me to do it again the next day, right? To wake up, to have, like right now, my goal is to go to the pool and not have a swim set, but just figure it out as I go. I went last week, felt decent to start, and then actually ended up feeling like pretty good, pretty snappy. Was I happy with my pace? Sure. But I was more happy that I did it, that I got in the pool, that I got my workout in. So I think when you think about things that are passionate, when you think about things that you love and enjoy, you have to kind of keep at the core of it. I think just keep top of mind, again, when you're training and even in your job, your professional life and your relationships and friendships, whatever it is, that having such high expectations or having this need for a fantastic or fabulous result that's a PR or the best day ever or this is not just unfair, but it's passion stealing, right? Because it's robbing the joy of something that you normally get joy out of by just splattering an expectation on it. And that's one of the ways that I see so many athletes struggle to keep their passions, because their training isn't built around passion. It's built around false expectations and then poor execution.
Yeah. I mean, you get better at least I do. I get better at things by doing them over and over and over. I think that's the hidden secret is just doing stuff over and over. And, I think back to even when I started, back in the old news business, I had no idea how to edit video. And now, people can think that, wow, he's really good at that. That's something I do naturally. But I put the hours that I put in just working on the basics and trying to figure shit out was like, what led to now. And it just becomes a habit. That's why it's always interesting. Like if you've done several Ironman or done a lot of races in your time, you kind of innately understand how to do them. So, you always have that certain level of confidence, but to do things over and over, we'll get kind of into this because once you get good at something, that's a whole nother story. But, how do you said, you're talking about, the race can't really be the main motivation. And I totally agree with that. I was in that for, a few years in the beginning and Kona and all that crap. And I just, it was a ticket to burnout kind of. So what I like is being at peace with sort of doing the same thing. And that means for me, a lot of times is doing the same route. Like you said, the course you pick. And I'll just sort of like embrace the idea that, like, I think it's cool to run different places and stuff like that. For the most part, I'm not really like sightseeing and all that kind of stuff. I'm sort of inside myself and running and breathing. And so I kind of like to go by, and I was talking to a guy yesterday about ranges for the race at Texas. I was talking with Steve about it. It's like, it's just so much more, I guess, pleasurable and realistic, I guess, to kind of be thinking about racing in ranges and things like that. That's why, like if I'm running and I look at my watch and I see a number, that doesn't necessarily mean shit because it could be off, it could be whatever. But I like to kind of every once in a while peek over there, and when I'm feeling good or if I'm running well, and just kind of if I'm in a ballpark, that means like, okay, that feels good. It's like with swimming, you're not like worried about every single lap. You're just kind of thinking about, okay, the last, 2050s have all been a little bit better than I'm normally doing or whatever. You kind of just get that sense that you're getting better. And I think that's sort of an art, is to understand just innately that you're getting faster and you're getting stronger, and being able to appreciate it without seeing specific data points all the time.
What do you want out of the sport and the hobby that you're doing? I think that's a question that sometimes we don't ask enough of ourselves, right? we get up, you get on your bike, you put on your shoes. If it's just a day on the calendar and not to create a better life every other day of the year, then I think you have to ask yourself some serious questions about the longevity of what you're doing and how you're able to do it. I mean, the I would say, not compliments, but I think the positives that I hear as a coach from athletes that honestly to me, yes, as a coach, you have to have athletes get faster. You have to, have to see performance gains or, in some way, shape or form, whether that's relative to the field or being on a podium or qualifying for this or getting a faster result. Yes, you have to see those. But how you get to those is, I think, a lot different than I think of the way people see. And when they hire a coach that's going to, I remember I've had multiple discussions in the past and with athletes that I even work with now, they're like, yeah, I was like, what are your expectations? Of go, well, I want somebody to, really rip into me when I'm not doing things right or do this and do that. I really need somebody. I'm like, well, then you're expecting too much of this relationship and it's probably not going to work out. Right? Because that's not what I do. It's not what any coach does. It's not your responsibility as a coach to be that guy, to be the screamer and the motivator. It's your job to find love in what you do, because if you do, then you don't need extra motivation. You're motivated enough already. And as a coach, when you hear from athletes, again, that are age group athletes that do this as a hobby, like the rest of you, right? Like the rest of you, that we choose to do this. We pay money to do this. And the level of seriousness you see from age group athletes that take this as a hobby is extraordinary, especially compared to what you see, some professionals treat it as, and it is their hobby. It's not their hobby, it's their job. And what you hear from athletes that know that you can tell that they're really happy and heading in a good direction. Again, it's like one of those chicken before the egg conversations is they'll say things like, I'm really feeling better overall right now. Okay. So if you're feeling better overall, you feel healthier. And if you're feeling healthier, that's generally a good thing. And if you're feeling healthier, you've probably got more energy. You've got more energy. You're probably going to be more engaged in your training. And if you're more engaged in your training, you're probably going to do it better. Right. It's not the, drive yourself from the ground, which is again, one of those, I get an email at least once a week. Hey, do you think I'm working hard enough? I think I'm really pushing, because we have this symptom in society now that driving yourself from the ground and working 80 hours a week and sleeping 4 hours a night is a way to success. No, it's not. It probably just means you're not using your time very wisely, right? And I tell people, hey, if you're asking me if you're pushing hard enough, then we're probably in a great spot. Because if you feel like we're pushing too much, then it is too much. And, athletes will say things like, yeah, you know what? I love that the training provides structure to my life, right? And most of our lives are very unstructured because we don't know what's going to happen. We won't know when we'll be needed. We won't know when there'll be a schedulation or a cancellation or a kid's game or a rain out or a kid home from school or a dog has to go to the vet or whatever it is. It's erratic and chaotic. Training provides structure, right? It provides a positive outlet in your life that allows you to also be healthier. I mean, I had an athlete 10 minutes before this phone call, I was reading through an Athlete's Training Peaks comment where she had a couple, difficult work phone calls she had to make. So she went for a walk instead. And she said, I stopped at the grocery store, I was walking home, and there was this guy trying to carry all his groceries up his hill and he couldn't even do it. He had to come back and make multiple trips. And he said she was just saying, I was very thankful for the health that I have to do the things that I do when there are, so many people that can't, merely carry the groceries up a hill because they're so out of shape. Right. Yeah. And it's a fact, right? In a society it's both, it's sad, right? It's very, very, very sad that where we've gotten in a society, especially in America, with how lazy we've become and how out of shape we have been and how we have, our priorities in life have shifted so dramatically to feeling like we should be driven and the need to, or we should be driven to need and want things that don't really have anything to give back to us, right? In a healthy way, or that helps prolong our health. That in fact drains it, right? It's more work. It's, and it's more time away from your family, and because you got to make more money, you got more to spend more things on, and you got to, drive yourself from the ground. You got to work more, and you got to beat out the other person. You got to do this, and we got to be busy all the time. And it's like, where's the rest?
Yeah.
Where is it? Where in order the rest, it's you gotta rest to be the best, and that's a fact. I had this exact discussion on the way home from hockey on Saturday. I think it was Sunday, whatever day it was, Sunday. Hayden had a hockey game, and he legit was straight up lazy, and he's never lazy. And it got on to him after the game, and then we started to talk through things, and I went kind of through like the last 24, 48 hours before. I said, "Are you tired?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I was just tired. I was really tired today." And, and I said, "Well, it's hard. You can't give your best when you're tired." And, and then we went through like the last 24, 48 hours of all the stuff that he was doing, how busy he was. And I said, what I tell the athletes that I work with, it says that you can't be motivated and be tired. Because if you're tired, you're lacking the energy to be motivated. And yet we spend so much of our time, right, driving ourselves into the ground with a lack of sleep or too much screen time or shitty eating, and we wonder why we don't have the energy to be motivated to go to work or do the work that's required to get better that we want to do, right? Or we do it and we wonder why we feel so terrible. Like you're not feeling well when you're doing it. You're eating like shit before you go. It's like all these things, like we know these simple things to do to be better, to be great, to have a happy life. Yet most people fall epically short every day on their own, just by their own choices. Not because they have to, but because you choose to, right? I really wish I could spend more time with my family. I really wish I could train more. I wish, how much time did you spend doing absolutely nothing today that gave back to your life? Right. And then that's a variety of things. Did you go for a walk? Did you spend time with your loved ones? How much time did you spend on social media? How much time, connecting with a person? Like all these things, like we have the opportunity to do this, we just don't, right? Because it requires extra work. And you wonder why we feel so drained. And then we look towards things like triathlon, right? That we expect all these things from a sport. Right? We give to the sport. The sport doesn't give to us. And I think that's a relationship that people need to understand, is that we give to the sport of triathlon. The sport doesn't give to us, right? But what the sport does give to us is what everybody else gives to it. And the more you race, the better you are, the happier you are, the better the race formats are. The more you get fit, the more you're going to tell people, the more we're going to see things like, do you think they want to talk to you and they want to do triathlon when you're burnt out and driving yourself from the ground every day? No, there's literally nothing attractive about that. That's why I like when you see these, pyramid schemes and you get these, spam emails from Craigslist or the phone calls that are spam. They're trying to prey on older people or people who just, man, I want to think twice with it. Hey, I'd love to send you a $100,000 check from this king in Bahrain, and you're like, oh man, that sounds kind of tempting. It's never this. Hey, listen, for the next 20 years, I'd love to send you $5 a day that you can set aside, for, put in your savings and a high yield savings account. And then the next 30 years, you'll have accumulated a couple $100,000. They're never like that, right? Because it takes too long. But the prey in the advertising and the marketing of the society we have now is it want it right now, and it has to be incredible to be marketed, right? And that's, I think, how we've been wired as people, and how it's affecting people's training, is that they expect so much and then they want so much out of this one thing, when really our experience in all things in life, our experience is up to us. You can blame whoever you want. You can complain about this and bemoan all the obstacles and misfortunes that, guess what, we've all had. But it ultimately comes down to you and the experience that you choose to have in the world that we live in, with the training that you're doing and the races that you signed up for. You own that. You have that experience, and it goes a long way to love it and to want to nurture it and treat yourself right and to get up and again. It seems monotonous. It seems boring, right? But I'm telling you right now, like the best athletes that get the most out of themselves aren't the ones that kill themselves every day, right? If you need more than 48 hours to go from a workout, it was way too hard. But most self-coached athletes and a lot of training plans put you in that category, right? They drive you into the ground. And I think it's a mental shift that I think we all, even if you're someone who has is pretty objective and has a pretty great perspective on training and in life, we all need that reminder every once in a while, and chasing your passion and not getting distracted and veering off course. Because usually when you have those thoughts, you have those feelings, you have those insecurities, and you have that lapse in attention span, it's usually because there's other other alarms going off in life, right? You're not doing a good job prioritizing. You don't think you can do this. You don't think you can do that. You don't think you can do this. And really you might just need a little bit of something different in a different way, and that just takes extra work. And so when it comes to what you said about passion, it is that it's something, and I know it sounds like, cliche, but it's something that you gotta sometimes learn to love, because the chances are there's a high likelihood that you're trying to love it and find it in the wrong way. Right. And like you said in your notes, it was like, don't chase what is the hot trend of the day, do your passion, is because let's say if you love your job or you do your passion, you'll never have to work a day in your life. And you and I could say that, this is our passion. We turned our hobby into our professional career. And yeah, it's work, but it's still a passion, right? It's something that we love to do, and the hours don't feel like that much work, which is, again, like I think what goes into your next bullet point about slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and how that is progress, is that's kind of the zone that most people find themselves in training. And I think when people hear that phrase, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, is they hear race day speed or being in the zone. But when I see and when I read that is my training has gone incrementally better. It hasn't been forced. It's become smooth, right? It's fit into my life. It's not been jammed into it. I want to do it. I give up every day. My 30-minute runs go to 35, right? Then I stay there for a minute. That 35-minute goes to 40. And it's not jumping from 30 to 60. It's not wanting to go from no intensity to all my intensity. It's not coming back from sickness and wanting to do too much. It's getting smooth. And smooth means, efficient, and it means without giant ups and giant downs. And if you can do that and you find yourself in that sweet spot, then that's when you get fast. Right. But again, a lot of people, I think, hear that phrase and think of race day or performing in, other athletic endeavors. But to me, it sums up how training should feel and should be for most people.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you went into there, and I got a quick story actually about the groceries thing that I think is kind of interesting. The guy that couldn't carry his groceries up. Mm-hmm. I'm at the store the other day.
It was 2 gallons of Hawaiian Punch, just for the record.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, shocker, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that works perfectly, because I'm at the grocery store and I was in my car actually pulling out, and I saw a guy walking through the parking lot, and I could tell he was walking because he wasn't coming from a car, and I was looking at the guy, and he looked familiar. He looked like someone that could be my age but was about 30 years older than me, kind of thing. I'm like, man, he looks a little bit beat up, run his face, just like weathered. And so anyway, he walked past me, and I couldn't quite place it. But then I went home and I changed, and I got into my run stuff, and I actually went out and started running up by the golf course here. The store is about 2 miles from my house, and I got home, started running up. But I do this path up and along the golf course, and I do these back and forth, kind of like a skateboard, what do they call that, loop or tunnel, whatever. Up and back and forth, I go up and down these hills, and it's kind of just do repeats. And I got a couple in, and I was coming up on the third one, and I saw the guy walking towards me. I'm like, shit, that guy walked all the way from the grocery store, and he had bags in his hands. And as I was running up on him, I could see he had 2 plastic bags, and I got closer and I could see in them, and it was he was carrying 4 6-packs of Pepsi. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me right now? I mean, to walk 2 miles to the grocery store to pick up Pepsi is fucking phenomenal. I mean, we talk about getting run down and energy and stuff like that, and it's just so obvious sometimes, but sometimes it's not. I think a lot of people in our sport under fuel You know, I mean, we have so much energy. We're trying to do work. We're trying to work out. We're trying to do all that stuff. And we're trying to lose weight and everything like that. I think some of the problems can be the fact that we're not actually fueling enough in the right way. And clearly this is, I would not advocate my man's practice, although the walking was good. But, I mean, come on. There's got to be a convenience store closer. But maybe, but I mean, you know, like it's probably to save like $2, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's a crazy thought process, but, yeah, the smooth is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's something that always brings me back to shit like, when I was starting to drum or whatever, and how you just can't skip steps and stuff like that. When I started in, junior high, my mom took me to drum lessons, and I went to 2 of them, and all I wanted to do was just rock. You know, I just wanted to, you know, play some of the rock songs of the day and just, you know, teach me how to do that shit. And he would always make me just do single stick rolls and do these real slow, methodical patterns on the rubber pad. And I quit. I mean, that wasn't like resonate with me at all. And when I think about slow is smooth and smooth is fast, it's kind of relative, right? So that doesn't mean if you're really, you know, kind of a fast runner that you need to be slow. You just need to be, you know, we had a podcast, run slow to get fast. And we've always said, you know, it's run easy to get fast. And that's kind of the marker, right? Is that you have to, you know, master certain levels as you get faster. And I think that's really the key is to, you can't like, I could go out right now and run probably close to my peak speed that I've had in the last 10 years, but it would probably beat me up and probably put me on the shelf and all these kind of things. So you got to be able to master where you're at and, you know, just having patience with it. And because it's just sort of like you build up. And like I was saying earlier about how you build up kind of muscle memory for doing these events, you have that sort of in your back pocket, but you can't always get to where exactly you were. And it's just a matter of if your mechanics and if your muscle strength and all these things aren't kind of in the right spot or in the right shape to be able to reproduce something over and over and over, which is triathlon, and that kind of stuff will wear you down and it'll take too much out of you. So I just think that, you know, and a lot of times I'll talk about running is not trying to go fast, but just letting go more. And then I think when you have good control and you know, just overall strength and your ability to do that, you can let go and go faster instead of just always trying to go fast. You know, it's smooth. You just watch, you know, we were talking about Patrick Lange running a 2:30 Ironman marathon, and he looked like he was just butter. You know, he wasn't digging in. He was just floating. And how do you get to that point? How do you get to the point where you're going to float? You know, I think that you can do that for maybe 10 steps, but then can you hold on? So that's all about just really, really doing things over and over and over and really mastering them.
I mean, if you watch the Boston Marathon, that's all you thought about.
Yeah,
Smooth is fast and you know, slow is smooth and smooth, because they look effortless.
Yeah.
They look totally, it's unreal. I remember watching the dudes come out and they look like they're out on a Sunday group run, right? Heading to the pub. And they're like, yep, first split, 4:37. I'm like, excuse me? I mean, it's unreal how fast they go. It's unreal. And as a side note, most of those guys run their slow runs in the mid-8s. Just as going back to the run a lot of easy, there's been like multiple studies that go back and look at the biggest predictor of success and you know, have marathons, you know, and then, you know, Olympic marathon, Ironman marathon is the biggest success is, you know, volume, but it's mostly how much easy volume, right? Easy stuff, which is slow is smooth and smooth is what allows you to be fast. Your next one is, I think, my favorite. Be proud of your hard work and choices, not your natural gifts. I talk about this. You and I both do, I think, in training about, you know, yours was cycling and mine was swimming. Mm-hmm. You know, swimming is, I think, my natural gift, you know, and I think it comes easy to me. Yes, because I swam year round growing up, you know, it comes easy for me, but I'm rarely proud when I finish a workout because of a new improvement. Mm-hmm. because it's just, I mean, I got in the water last week, my second swim in like 3 months, and I averaged like 119. In a lot of ways, I get out more disappointed, honestly, than I get out proud. I was proud that I did. I was happy. But then, when I get back to thinking things, I'm like, man, like I feel very fortunate that I can do that, because obviously, like, say 96, 95% of the athletes that I work with, they work their ass off to get to that level. When I'm the most proud is when I work my butt off to get my riding to where it's at a different spot, or get to my running to where it's a different spot. Because I've never, in all aspects of life and in all aspects of sports, like I've never been the most talented person, period. But I've always had to work extra hard to get to where I want to go. I'm one of those guys that's like, again, I'm not great at anything, but I'm pretty good at quite a few things. But it takes a lot of work. Like, it would take me a tremendous amount of work to be really, really, really great at a sport. And some people just are, they just got the it factor, right? It just comes to them very, very easily. Some of us have to work hard. That's why you see, most of the best coaches on the planet were pretty average, athletes. But they also know what it's like to work really hard at their craft and what they do. And that's also, in life, and I think the harder you work is something you should be the most proud of. And I think that's why I hate so much when Ironman, markets races as easy, or easier to try to make it more. I'm like, when did we stop trying to chase things that just scare the living fuck out of us, right? So much of life is easy. You don't have to go to the grocery anymore. You can work from home. You don't have to leave your house for a month if you don't want to. You know how easy life has become in so many ways? And all we do is prioritize and market things that are easy or easier. That's why I've also got so damn soft. It's because everything is easy and easy. You know what? Congratulations. Thanks for coming to the grocery today. Here's a sticker. Right? What the fuck? Like, it doesn't make any sense. We have to get up. We have to challenge ourselves to do things, to push ourselves. Again, going back to the first part of the topic, like, because it's not the day. It's not the day that changes you. It's committing to do something that scares you so much you're not sure if you can even do it. You're not sure. Like, those days are limited. And those opportunities and experiences and adventures, like, they should 100%. Like, I had an athlete this weekend go out and race one of the hardest known, like, half marathons in Colorado. She did it awesome. But she was like, I've always wanted to do this race because it's always talked about how hard it is. Not it's a PR course, it's a one of those, like, the better Boston qualifiers. It's a net downhill, which also is like a quad eater. But, it's like when did we stop looking for things that change us? Right? A PR is, where's that going to go? The top line of your athlete's profile underneath your photo on Facebook as your Ironman 70.3 PR? What about the 300 days before that change you because you're not sure if you can finish? Like, that, again, that's why, in my opinion, that's why you see so much of the sophomore slump in long course racing, 70.3 fulls, because the first time you do something or take something on, it scares you so much that you're so much more dialed. You're so much more dialed, and you grow so much from the experience that your experience is different. And the next, you're like, yeah, I've already done it, so it's not as scary. It isn't. Not only do a lot of people not get out of themselves as much from a fitness standpoint, they also don't get out as much of it from an emotional standpoint and a mental standpoint, because they don't get that. They don't get the positives from waking up every day, choosing to do something you're not really sure that you're going to even do well at or even finish. But then once you do it, it becomes like a drug, right? And you want to chase it. And you're like, oh, I got to have this more. I can't, instead of one, I got to do two. Instead of two, I got to do three. And now I got to do the Decker. Now I got to do this 100 miler. Now I got to do it fast. And I got to qualify for Kona. Now I got to go on the podium. It's like, you got to find things that are hard. And there's so many different levels of hard, right, in life. The hardest thing I've ever done in life is to not drink. And it'd be 10 years in November, which is a lot of days. And when I go back and think about, like, the hardest thing that I've done in my life is that, and something that I do every single day is to not drink. Because even for people who aren't alcoholics, are in recovery like me, but you say, hey, could you go 10 years without drinking? Like, yeah, no, I couldn't. I don't want to. Right? It's not so, they don't have to, but it's one of those things where I think it keeps me on my toes, and it is something that I'm the most proud of because of how hard I've had to work to get to the point to where I can be this close to having 10 years. But then it's going to be, I think it's a blessing in that it's always going to be hard and it will never be done like a race. It'll never be, it's not like, yeah, I've been sober for 20 years 3 times. It's like, that's not something anyone really brags about. It's like, because it means you probably relapsed twice, and you're on the back end of the, next one. So it's, when it comes to, racing, when it comes to life, when it comes to finding hard things, like, that's why I think we should, instead of being so cowardly and so full of complaints when life, gives us challenges, I think we should look at it as an opportunity. And honestly, we should feel fortunate that life is, because in my opinion, life doesn't present us challenges so we can succumb to them. Life presents us challenges so we can overcome them. And again, going back to what we talked about before, life is your own experience. That is up to you as a choice. How do you want to overcome it? How do you want to do things? Who do you want to become? Obstacles be damned. Life be damned. Doesn't matter. Make the life you want to make, because honestly, like, the obstacles, they're what make us who we are. They're what make you strong. It's not the easy 30-minute runs that give you confidence. It's the hard ones. It's not the 2-hour ride in your trainer that makes you confident in race day. It's a 5.5-hour ride on your own where you accidentally underfueled in the wind and you made it through. That's what gives you confidence. It's the long run on a busy weekend with your kids' baseball team, but you got up anyway and you found a way to get it done. That's what gives you courage, right? That's what gives you strength. That's what gives you the confidence on race day. It's not the easy days, but yet here we are, chasing the easy and expecting to get hard results. And obviously you don't want every day to be hard because it'll wear on you, but stop chasing the easy. And that's not where we're made. That's not where, who you are didn't come from the easy day. Those days aren't even memories. They're not even memories. They just go and they float into the ether and they're gone. Right? You don't look back on last year and be like, yeah, you know what? Last year was transformative for me. It really was. It was impactful. I really learned a lot about myself. It was really, my life was just really easy. I never had to work really hard every day. I just, things came easy. I slept a ton. There was no life stressors. I really learned a lot about myself last year and how easy it was. No one ever says that. It's always how difficult things got, because that shows you who you are, or it shows you your cracks in the armor. And you can either let those continue to crack to where your armor falls off and you feel like you can't protect yourself, or you can choose to find ways to strengthen that and to become a better, stronger, person in all aspects of life. So, stop chasing the easy, right? Embrace the hard, embrace the difficult, embrace the obstacles, and see who you are on the other side.
Yeah. Back to the beginning of what you were saying there about how swimming is easy for you, but swimming is easy because you put in the time early, and then it became a gift. It's one thing to, searching for Bobby Fischer. That kid, that was like a gifted kid who could play chess, like out of the womb, basically. And the Josh Waitzkin story. And I think back to that, like my natural gifts and things like that. I think we're all because we played every single day out there. We worked at things and whatever. And then I rode my bike a ton when I was a kid, and then I got into mountain biking early in like my college days and stuff, and did that for a long time. And so that is a gift, but it was something I worked at. But I do think of it as something that comes natural, and I can kind of put off the bike for a while or whatever. But for me, the carrot is always the swimming. I've always wanted to be a good swimmer because that was something I never did. And like you were saying that about AA, your recovery, it's like, I'm sure that 1 year felt like the biggest year, and now it gets tougher and tougher because you're so much more I guess, used to it or whatever, but it becomes, there's like, it's not as like grandiose anymore. Like, so for me, when swimming, I'm always seeing improvements, it's like when we start the sport, you always see improvements and everything like that. But now you're at a point with your swimming where it's like getting to that next level is not easy. I mean, that's like really digging deeper and trying to figure out ways for you to keep motivated, even though your swim is just fine for everything you're doing. Probably, the Ironman, it's like how much were you, the work you would have to put in to cut off like a minute in an Ironman swim or 2 minutes or whatever from what is a pretty solid swim. Those kind of things are like, for me on the bike, it's like to get, I mean, I know the level of work that would take to take me up, and it just gets to be so much harder. So, when you're talking about being proud of hard work, that's where it's at, like even for me, still running is pretty natural, but it's still a hard one for me to get better at, especially compared to where I was, maybe 8 years ago or something like that as I get older. But yeah, it's like finding joy in the tough stuff, the little things that really don't show up as much. That's why I was so proud of last year when I was getting into my swimming and I was really swimming long. I mean, I think that's always been my Achilles heel on every sport is the long stuff. It's like I know I can suck it up and pull it off, but I don't build myself up enough in any of it. And last year I did on the swim and it showed, and I didn't on the bike and that showed, and I didn't on the run and that showed. So, but I was still, even though it was probably in theory one of my worst performances at Ironman Wisconsin, it was a really hard day. And that was something that I felt proud about, just finishing, and to find, satisfaction and sort of like little pride nuggets about doing hard things like that is there's nothing like it, man. If you can, but it doesn't, like you're saying, it doesn't show up on your profile as something impressive to other people, but that's the thing is like, when you're working hard for yourself and nobody else is watching, and that's when you should be doing it, when no one else is watching. And how do you find and trigger that into being a piece of joy while you're out there and knowing that you're doing something. You're not just going through the motions and just kind of putting in the time and getting something done, but actually digging in deeper. And that doesn't mean just like always going harder, but like, I like what you said, because I had a guy who did last weekend. He was, he's training for half Ironman, but he went way out of his comfort zone and did like 100-mile cyclocross last weekend, first time ever doing something like that. And he didn't even really know what to expect and everything. He talked about how difficult it was and how he had to kind of trick himself the whole day to just keep going. And he got done. And that was exactly what he was saying is like, the confidence I got out of that, just being able, and that's what I reaffirmed for him is like, man, you don't realize it, but everything you did today, that's exactly it. Because Ironman racing, half Ironman, it's never easy. And the ability to figure out ways and to take it and get through things on the fly is what it's all about. And he just pushed himself. I mean, he did really well considering, we weren't really training for that. He kind of like just wanted to see if he could do it. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, man. And, he didn't even really know what he was doing out there with a lot of guys that were real experienced at it. And he finished in the top half of the course, and I was super proud of him but mainly because of just that, because I know what he was going through. He was with the pack for a while, and then he was on his own for like the last 40 miles or something like that. He was like, I was just trying to get from 5 miles at a crack, and then it became 1 mile at a crack. And then I was like, how am I going to do this? And with my fuel. But you always got more than you think. And I think making that connection with your brain and your body is like what it's all about.
Stop chasing easy. I mean, I love that. It's like, and we can end it there. It's like so many people want things to change, right? They want to be different. They want a different job. They want out of their relationship. They don't want to live in the state they live in. They're tired of the city. They're tired of, not being consistent in their training. They, tired of being, to them, slower than they want to be. Like all that stuff means you gotta find something and change it, right? But we live and we work and we train under an a baseline level of stress, of life stress that's handed out every day. Some days you deal with it better, some days you don't. I mean, think about it, right? Some days you have like the easiest day, right? You get 8 hours of sleep. For me, it's like Hayden's on a roll. It's like life is good. In some way, somehow, you get irritable about it. You're like, God, I just feel this day feels really overwhelming. And then you look at other days that have been so much harder in your life that felt significantly easier. And you're like, wait, how does this work? Right? How does this, or how does this 20-minute run seem so hard on my body when 4 days ago, an hour and a half and it was easy? Right? That's just life and the stresses that we have. You never know what's going to happen each day, but you want things to change. You can't, if you want it to be easier and you want it to feel better and you want it to go better, then the first change, the first decision, the first action you have to make is going to be the hardest one, right? And then it might get easier down the road. But we want things to stop being so hard, so we chase easy, and expect it to solve all of our problems. And a lot of times you need things. We all need things. We all need opportunities. That's why endurance sports are so great, because it offers so many opportunities to challenge yourself or to find ways to change yourself. The race won't, right? It's the graduation day. You get your cap and gown, get your tassel, move it left, move it right, whatever it is. It's the days leading up to it. The days leading up, the weeks, the years that led up to it that change you because you weren't sure, because you were scared, because you chose to do a hard thing, right? Whether it's going long, whether it's going short and going fast, whatever it is, find something that challenges you. Forget about the clock, right? Forget about, setting a PR because you went 3 minutes fast. I mean, ask yourself, which one's better? May I PR by 30 seconds? Or you took on a race that scared the living shit out of you. You did it, you made it, you crossed the finish line, and you're so proud of yourself, and it changed who you were. Which one's better for you long term? The one that changes you, right? And yes, PRs can change you by what you go through and how you, circumvent life and make your way to the start line and have a, transformative day. I get it. But it boils down for most people to chasing things that are hard, right? In situations that are hard, because that's the best way to train us for life, right? Not to chase the easy days, because life ain't easy, folks. We all know that. You know that. I know that. So if you want to be better prepared for life, right? Not just healthier, not just fitter, not just faster, but also from the chin up, then find things that prepare you for life, right? And that's rarely, if ever, the easy way out.
Sounds good. I agree, 100%.
Yeah, and as usual, we didn't make it through all of our bullet points, but that's okay.
That's all right.
That's all right. I love that one. That was good. As always, we love you. We appreciate you guys. Go to our website, c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you need anything specifically or more info on the coaches tab, you can click on that and find the coach that's right for you. If you're looking for ways to support the podcast, you can click on the online store, pick up some swag, and we'll send that out. And that's, again, the best way to support us, since we don't do sponsors and ads. That is a great way to support the podcast and Mike and I and our endeavors to keep you happy and healthy. But that's it. If you need anything from Mike specifically, he's available, crushingiron@gmail.com. Or if you need anything from me, I'm at c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy. I will catch up with you later.
See you, dude.
Thanks, man.